We're going to mark the top stitching line for the top of the pocket. And in order to do that, we need to first measure to see how wide this is. So this should be 1.5 inches. So let me just check. 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. All right. So we don't want it to make our top stitch line 1.5 inches from the top, because then we would be sewing right on this very edge here. And that would be a little bit difficult to do. And we're actually not going to sew from this side. It would make sense in some ways if we sewed from this side, because we could see where we were going. However, the top line of stitching always looks better than the bobbin does for some reason. And so we actually want to stitch from the top. So our hem is 1.5 inches. We're going to make our stitching line 1 4 inches. So I flipped it over. I'm going to change my seam gauge to 1 4 inches, so a little bit shorter now. Now it's between the 1 and the 1.5. And I am going to, I'm right-handed, so I think I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to put my seam gauge along, this is the upper edge of the pocket. Remember, mine is directional fabric, so I want to make sure that my car doesn't go on upside down. And I'm going to make a little line with my tailor's chalk. That's what this stuff is. You could also use the chalk pencil to do it. I think the tailor's chalk is easier. And then I'm going to put another one, and then maybe one more on this side. Okay? Then I'm going to take a longer ruler, because my seam gauge isn't long enough to go across the top. I'm going to take a long ruler, and I want to line up those marks, and then I'm going to move this across here. And if you notice, I'm not digging on here. This stuff is soft enough that if I just go across here once, and see, now I've done it twice, you should really be able to see that line. It's on there, nice and bright. And the nice thing about this kind of chalk is all you need is a little spritz of water, and it will come off. Sometimes I'll spritz with water and use a press cloth and just brush, and it'll come off. And then you just press and you're ready to go. So I don't want the hem to wiggle around. If you notice, I took the pin out that was holding the top. So I don't want this to wiggle around while I am sewing. So I am just going to put a couple of pins in here. I'm not putting one at the very end. That's all attached there. It should not wiggle. I'm going to put one in the middle and one at about here. And now we are ready to go to the sewing machine to show how to top stitch our pocket.